Let's talk about this new Heavenhill 22 year that just dropped this weekend and kept me up for over 30 hours. Was it worth it? Let's see. All right, so welcome back to Brutally Honest Bourbon. This weekend was interesting. My very first time ever camping out for a bottle. I've showed up here to Alabama to the ABC line one time, midday walk up. I say midday, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. But for Heavenhill, this was my first time showing up at 5:30, posting up in a chair, and camping out all night long, waiting on a bottle. So I was really excited to try it. And luckily, there were some people there that were nice enough to share some parking lot pours with me. So my buddy David had picked up the Heavenhill 22 previously at a Heavenhill dinner. And he also picked up a Blade & Bow 30 year that we tried in the parking lot that night. So trying the Heavenhill 22 then secured my fate in the fact that I was going to stay overnight, because I kept telling myself I would not camp out for this bottle. I'm very thankful that I did, and thinking now that I wish I could get a backup, but let's wait on those secondary prices to go down a little bit. So today I'm going to compare this to the Heavenhill 17, the 18, the William Heavenhill 19, and just see where it falls. I feel like it's going to be a little bit unfair to put it against William Heavenhill 138 proof, but they're all the same exact mash bills. Obviously the 17 was blended, had a lot of older stuff in there. I think some 20 years, some 19 year. Then you had the 18 that was all 18 that I found to be just a little over oaked. And then you've got the 22, which was a marriage of a bunch of 22 year barrels. So, let's get into it, talk a little bit about it, and see if you guys need to be chasing this bottle. All right, so the Heavenhill 22 is a 2026. It's the fifth in this Heritage line collection that was released. It's the oldest in the series. It's 22 years, 78, 10, 12 like the rest of them, at 129 proof. There were 270 plus barrels. I've heard rumors of up to 400 barrels. It was distilled in 2003. It was in Rickhouse Y, floors 5 and 6. The SRP on this one was $319.99. And I'm currently seeing it on secondary between $700 and $800. So some of the bottles that we're going to compare it to today are going to be some of the early ones from that collection. I love Heavenhill juice. They had the 19 and the 20 that come out, some different mash bills. I wasn't as fond of those. I think probably as a whole, we all as bourbon lovers weren't as excited about those. But let's talk a little bit about the Heavenhill 17. A freaking monster of a pour. Well done, and it is just about worthy of secondary pricing. Maybe not quite. My reason is because Penelope 13 drinks very close to it. Not exactly. I don't know that it outdrinks it, but at $250, whatever, I've gotten them as low as $170. I probably would take it over the Heavenhill 17 at the cost. And I know a lot of people are going to beat me down over that. 13 years versus some 19, 20 years mixed with some 17-year juice. But let's talk a little bit about Heavenhill 17. So Heavenhill 17 was released in 2022. It was the very first in this Heritage collection. It was a blend, 28% 20-year, 44% 19-year, and 28% 17-year. There were 188 barrels total, because out of the 239 barrels that they selected, 52 were discarded. So that's about 20%. It came in at 118 proof. Mash bills, that 78, 10, 12 that we all know and love. SRP was $275. And these things have seen as much as $1,200, $1,300 on secondary. But it is what I consider a sit down, shut up, and respect the pour type whiskey. Then a few years later, we had the Heavenhill 18 come out. That was the very first in the collection that I got, and I did buy it secondary. So Heavenhill 18 was released in 2024. SRP on this one was $299.99, and it's currently sitting on secondary, I believe, around $450 to $600. You probably find it for the 500-ish range. There were 133 barrels, came in at 120 proof, and it is yet again the 781012. It was a single era hyper aged whiskey, all distilled in 2005 on the same rick house, same floor. And to me, it was good, but it just wasn't great. Just a little bit tannic, a little bit over oaked. And once you had the 17, it'll make you forget about the 18, to be honest with you. But I bought it. I've been drinking it. I do like it enough to have the pour. Don't think I'll buy it again. And last but not least, let's talk about William Heavenhill 19. Now, some of you guys probably going to tell me, man, it's not fair to put that in there. The proof is going to outshine it. You're going to know the color in the glass. Perhaps. I think the Heavenhill 22 is pretty darn dark. So I don't know. What I did was go through and label the bottles A, B, C, D, because my buddy Adam said that it was a bunch of nonsense the way that we were doing these 1, 2, 3, 4, and then ranking them 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So that gets confusing. So we'll do it, A, B, C, D. So I labeled the bottles. I do not remember what bottle I labeled A, B, C, or D. Labeled the glasses, poured them using these bottled Bourbon glasses, and right there at the bottom of that logo is going to be a ½ ounce. So I've got a bunch of ½ ounce pours in my bottled Bourbon glasses. These probably aren't the best glass for like nosing and judging a whiskey, but I think it'll do the job for us today. I do like a more open glass, like the Brutally Honest glasses I use, or the Detling glasses that we get from distillery products. I think they're called the Master Reserve glass. I really like those for nosing a whiskey and judging it, but we're going to basically judge these today on palate and just see what we think about them. So, William Heavenhill. The 12th edition in that series, and this is all pre-heritage series. It's a 19-year, it's barrel proof, 138.2 proof. There were approximately 30 barrels. It is also the 781012, and SRP on it was about $300, but it's sitting on secondary right now for $2,000. I don't know. It's good. It's really good. And I mean, you know, there's a lot of people out there that says no whiskey's worth over $100, $200, $300. And I mean, that's okay. It's not worth that to you. To some of us that are willing to sell our right foot and kidney to get one, then maybe it is worth that. And luckily for you, you hadn't been bit by the bug that would cause you to want to pay that for a whiskey, because I get it. I get it. I can say that it probably isn't worth it, but it is to a lot of us. I won that William Heavenhill from my girl Amanda in a raffle, and I think I'd bought $250 worth of spots, and it was about $325 out the door, so I got the bottle for less than cost. And then I had a friend of mine call me yesterday and say, man, you're not going to believe this, but I lucked into a raffle, they were doing something, and he got a free spot in the raffle and won a Heavenhill 22 that I'd stayed up 39 hours for. Got a few little, closed eye naps in the old zero gravity chair that my buddy David stopped and picked up for me. It wasn't comfortable, but I guarantee you I saw every hour on the clock that night, and then had to turn around and drive 6 hours back to Birmingham. So thanks to all of y'all who were on the phone with me during that trip, because that kept me going. I definitely did. But let's get into this thing, man. Let's see what we think about it. There again, I don't have a clue what these glasses are. I'm gonna go from my left to my right, and we'll just kind of see what we think about it. Absolutely beautiful nose. Beautiful. It's got some ethanol, some proof on it. It's a lot of those deeper, darker, like burnt caramels, some nuttiness. I absolutely love that nose. That nose is going to be a lot lighter. It still smells delicious, but it's a lot lighter scent, flavor, whatever you want to call it. It's like brighter sweetnesses. This one's very similar to that. I'm getting just straight caramel on those. My goodness gracious, that smells phenomenal. Super viscous. See the color? Okay, so on nose, it's going to be these two for me. And I'm guessing that these are either the 22 or the 19. They're identical. I'm going to say that this one is just a fuzz better. So I'm going to give the nose to the fourth glass. Let's get on these palates. I'm going to guess that to be the William Heavenhill. It's proofy. It's tons of flavor. It makes me want to dance. That is absolutely delicious. And there's like some Luxardo cherries in there. There's that sourness from the cherry. Man, there's almost like some like nutty type of nougat in there. There's that nice spice, like pepper spice. Really good finish. Ooh wee. I had somebody tell me the other day too, because Brandon and I always say blinds don't lie. And he came back and he said he'd argue that point. Now he had a very good point. He said when you do a blind, depending on the way that you go, you're gonna see things differently. You're going to taste them differently. Each one's gonna taste different than if you've gone in a different order. That's a very valid point. If y'all watched that video that I did at Max's liquor store that day, he did that to me on purpose. He had these 2 whiskeys that he tried to everybody that come in the store, but he always tried either this one first or this one first, and whichever way he did it, they would always pick a certain way. I don't remember if it was like when you tried the first one, you picked it. And then if you, like, in other words, if you tried this one first, you picked it. If you tried that one first, you would have picked it. I think that's what he was saying. But when you tried one behind the other, you didn't really like the second one. So that same cherry note is there, but it's much brighter. It's still tart. The amount of caramels and buttery, like creme brulee type vibes that come off of that one, and the finish. Holy cow. Oh my goodness. I've got to guess that to be 17. So that's going to be tough between the 2 of those. Which one do you give the nod to? Good night, y'all. Really good finish on that one. Everything's left clean. Almost no doubt that this is 18. So that first glass, I'm calling that William Heavenhill 19. That's my guess. The palate on that thing, bang up like that. That's crazy good. The second glass, I'm calling that Heavenhill 17. Again, very amazing palate, long finish, great flavors. This one is a touch more oaky. It's just, I mean, it's not overdone, but I don't know if I enjoy the oak on that as much as I do the lack of oak on the 17, which has got some 20-year stuff in it, right? But all that to say that I love William Heavenhill, and it's super oaky. So the third glass, I'm going to call that Heavenhill 18. I just want to see if I'm right. And on to this last one. All right, on to the last one. I'm guessing that to be Heavenhill 22. I don't think there's any chance in the world that I'm wrong. Guys, that is a tough call. This would be a very circumstantial blind. What are your preferences? Does oak offend you? Does oak rub you the wrong way on the palate? Like, if so, you're probably not picking either one of these. You're probably going to stay in here, and you're probably going to go there. This one starts to get just a little dry on the backside of the finish. Not enough to dry your palate out or really like offend me, but you can tell that age, right? Respect the age. That is just fantastic whiskey. Okay, I will say this. If I'm judging these whiskeys, this one falls a little flat on the finish for me. Still has a decent finish, but it's falling a little flat for me. I've got it. That's my first place glass. That glass, by far, that is amazing whiskey. This is going to be my second place glass. It's going to be my third place glass. This is going to be my last place. So first, that's how I'm going to place them. First, second, third, and fourth. So now let's reveal these. This first glass, if you guys can see that, there you go. This is glass A. Okay, that's glass A. And I'm guessing that to be William Heavenhill. There you go. William Heavenhill A. I don't think that there's any way I could have mistaken that. I really don't. So that's your winner. So this is my second place glass. And I'm giving that the nod to this one because I do like a little bit more oak, and it has a ton more mouthfeel. It's a lot more viscous. It's a lot thicker, more oily. That 17 is just nearly perfect whiskey, guys. Like, that's so good. That's a tough call right there. The thing is, the 17 is going to cost you through the nose, and you can get these 22s a little cheaper. But that's tough. That's tough for me to put that second. But I am, because it's different. It's been in my head, I guess, because I watched Jason C. I typically don't watch other reviews, but unless I've already done my review, because I don't want anybody else's notes or thoughts to stick in my head. Well, when I was traveling to Kentucky Friday, I watched Jason's video on this one. I listened to it, and I immediately got in touch with him and asked him, dude, what you said in the video is exactly how you feel to this day. He said, man, it's really good. I said, is it worth me waiting in line over? He said, it's up to you, but I don't think you'd be disappointed if you got one. So I sat in line and got it, and his notes have just stuck in my head, and that's what I get. It's like if you had a dark chocolate Snickers, because you get that nougat, you get that roasted peanut, you get that dark chocolate, and you get that thick, creamy mouthfeel that just covers your mouth. I'm going to give it the nod because of that. Not to say that it's any better than Heavenhill 17. I can't say that. But, all right, so this is glass C. If you can see that. Yep, letter C. And I think that would be this bottle here. There you go. C. And this is my third place glass. Letter Bravo. This is the 17 year. I can't get it to show on the screen. I guess because I scratched it too deep. But this is letter D. Letter D. Okay. Now I'm a little embarrassed. So that's letter Bravo. And that is Heavenhill 18. And this is letter Bravo. I put that above Heavenhill 17. And I'm telling you, I'm splitting hairs on every one of these. I'm not saying that one is that much better than the others. These are my preferences. That's all there is to it. And that's letter D. Letter D. And like I said, this one wasn't showing up. There you go. Letter D. I just got too thick with the pencil on it. Oh, wow. Freaking fantastic whiskey. But if you want a hot take from me, the Penelope 13, in my opinion, is as good as the Heavenhill 17. But since we're doing it, why not grab the bottle and just see if I still think that? Because I've been embarrassed already, right? 18 over 17. Are you a freaking idiot, Brandon? I don't respect your palate anymore. All right, so we know this to be letter D. And we know our 17 is letter D. So let's get these up. Get all this out of the way. All right, we get those out of the way. Get these out of the way. So this is the Penelope 13 Founders. Now, the 17 has 20 and 19 year whiskey in it. A good bit of it. It's almost 30% on each one of those. That's strictly 13 year whiskey to my knowledge. 121 proof. So we know it to be the same match in the Penelope bottle. What we don't know is if they blended older whiskeys with this particular bottle. We don't know that. But what I want to do is see if I still feel the same. I've done this a dozen times. And I'm telling you, every time, given the facts, I choose Penelope. Because I can get these. They're readily available. These are so freaking expensive. I got one backup left of this thing, thank goodness, because she's about gone. And that's less than a year old. Just to be honest, in a blonde, I don't think I'm picking the Penelope. But given the availability, the price, the flavor, if I was looking to buy a bottle, $1,100, $200, I would buy several of these before I'd buy one of these, personally. The youth comes through here a little bit more. Doesn't have quite as much mouthfeel, but it's really good. The flavor volume knob is not as high on this one. This one has more flavor. It's more well balanced. But I just don't see it being. Now, SRP to SRP, heck yeah, give me this. But the fact that you're not going to find them at SRP anymore, and secondary to secondary, give me this one. That's where I'm at. But I will say, there's a clear difference, a distinct difference between the two. All right, so that's my take on it today. Heavenhill kind of shocked me that I put 17 behind 18. That is not something I would normally do. I don't know why I did that. Maybe, like the gentleman said before, the order that we went, we were doing the William Heavenhill, which had a lot of like oak impact. Maybe that set the tone for the 18 to kind of tone that oakiness down, because it's not nearly as oaky as the William Heavenhill 19, perhaps. On any given night, I would choose 17 over 18 any day. So that's my take on it. I think William Heavenhill 19 is absolutely amazing. I think Heavenhill 22 is freaking fantastic. Delicious pour. And I'd be happy to have another Heavenhill 17 for sure. So guys, I hope that helped you out a little bit. If you're chasing that William Heavenhill 22 down, know that these prices most likely are going to come down. I don't suggest you go out there and chase them at $700-800. Sorry to any of my friends that are trying to move them at that rate, but that's just my personal opinion. There again, I don't think I influence any of you, but if I do, then hopefully that's a positive influence for you. It's definitely one you want. If you ever get the opportunity to camp out at Heavenhill, try to dig, know as many of the facts as you can, talk to friends that have done it before, but I highly suggest it. It was like a great night of bottle sharing. I met a lot of new people there, and I absolutely will and would do it again. So until the next time, y'all let the whiskey and friendships flow. Cheers. That's my jam.